I have a massive laptop today. Massive. Reviewing it from Lenovo. They lent this to me. Look how big it is. I can't even get it on camera. Just lean back. This is the Lenovo Legion 9i Pro 2025 model. It's a big boy. They actually sent it to me like actually a month ago, but I've just been like playing with it, messing with it, and like using it for other comparisons. But anyways, this is a massive laptop. So this is Lenovo's largest Legion for 2025. Last year, the 9i Pro was a 16-inch. It was just more refined than the 7i Pro. This year, they did what I think is a good move, and they actually segmented it out. And so rather than making the 9i Pro just slightly more premium 7i Pro, they're like, no, let's make it bigger. So it's 18 inches. So it's a big 18-inch laptop. Despite that, it is relatively thin, like the chassis there. Right? Head comparison. Reasonably thin. There's a little bit more thickness on the lid. So when it's closed up, it does have a little bit more thickness, but overall, I mean, it's not bad. It is obviously going to be a little bit heavier than, a 7i or, the 15-inch one, because it's a bigger laptop. There's more metal here. There's a lot going on in the internals of this thing in terms of like cooling and upgrades and that kind of stuff. So it's a big, physically large laptop. But despite that, it's very manageable, and this thing is very nice. Okay, so for the specifications here, there's a few different ways you can spec this thing out. We do have the 275HX as the only CPU option, which is fine. It's a fantastic CPU, very, very, very good. Coming down here, you do have two GPU options. You have a 5080 and a 5090. They're both good, to be honest, both very capable. There's a fairly big jump up to the 5090. It'll give you more power. You do also get significantly more VRAM. You get 8 gigabytes more, but don't feel bad about only getting the 5080s. It's still good. There's a reason why, if we come down a little bit further, why you need such big GPUs, and that is because we have big boy screens here. So we have the 4K is basically what we're getting as a baseline, 4K and 4K. This one has 2D, and they have a 3D kind of setup where you can switch between them. That's cool. It goes down a lower resolution, obviously, because it's driving the image more, so it's too hard on the GPU otherwise. So you're going to be getting 4K on both of them, which means it is a lot more pixels to drive. The advantage is, obviously, it's going to look better. It's going to be nice and crisp, especially at 18 inches where it's right in front of you. 18-inch, that extra 4K will look quite nice. It is also a lot harder to drive. So 5080, 5090 is kind of where you need to be, at least on a laptop, to drive 4K. So ups and downs. Nice and bright as well. 100% DCI-P3 color space on both of them is fantastic. That's really, really nice. So just be aware. I mean, it's also glare. I don't know where. Glossy. So you are going to get a lot of glare on here, which does improve color clarity and vibrancy. But then you have to deal with glare. So it has its ups and downs overall, but nice screen spec there. So not too many options here, but definitely fairly big, beefy specs here. Okay, and here it is, the laptop, upside down, because I've already opened it. It's a big boy, obviously, very, very, very big boy. You get the same kind of, I don't know what you call this, whatever, pattern, as you got last year from the 9i. Obviously, this is a much larger chassis, significantly larger, so, 18 inches versus 16 inches is a pretty big difference there. I actually don't have a 16-inch Legion at the current moment, but you can see here's my 15.1-inch Legion. So the smallest Legion of 2025 versus the largest Legion of 2025. It's so large I can't even get it on camera. Okay, so there we go. There's the smallest Legion versus the biggest Legion for this year. Right, last year there was a 14-inch, but pretty big difference there. The 16-inch Legion is actually closer to the size of like this here. So it's a big boy, obviously. And obviously it's going to be relatively heavy as well. Look at the actual like configured weight here real quick. It's definitely a big boy. I mean, it's not massive for what it is. Like, it's not that thick considering it is an 18-inch laptop, but it's definitely not light, right? 3.5 kg. So I mean, it's not 10 pounds, put it that way. That's good. But if you're looking for the lightest little backpackable thing, probably not this. You'd want to get the 15.1-inch, the one that I brought in. This is more going to be something you're taking your desktop with you. That's what it's for. Very large charger here. Yeah, it will charge over USB-C. It's just not going to give you anywhere near as much power. 400 watt. I mean, considering it's 400 watts, these things back in the day were huge. So they have slimmed them down, but it is, I mean, that's 400 watts. So again, if you're looking for, the lightest, thinnest Legion, this is not the one. You go the 15-inch or something, but still not bad. Looking pretty good overall. On the front there, we can see that it is fairly sleek, right? You get some metal here, like a metal rim around there. Nice sleek design. Same idea here. It is, I mean, for what it is, it's fairly thin. The monitor, like the actual screen, you can see is fairly thick. But if you actually get that out of there, it's not the thickest laptop, right? Like here, it's like that. Here's our finger, right? Like it's a finger thick. Looks pretty good. Now they have changed some stuff this year, just like the other Legions. We do have I/O on the back though, which is nice. Some of them don't, some of them do. Here we do have your annoying ones, is what I'll call them. So you have your HDMI out the back and your power out the back. That's good because it gets it out of the way. You don't have them on the sides there. Those are the ones you can, you want to just have the heavy, thick cables getting out of the way, especially if you do dock it, put it on a stand and use it as a desktop replacement, which it is a desktop replacement. You don't want those things to be on the side because it can be annoying. Left side here, USB-A 10 gigabit fast, good for NVMe enclosures, SSD enclosures, that kind of stuff. You do have your RJ45 Ethernet, 2 Thunderbolt 4, so you can run docks, more storage. I mean, this thing has so much storage as it is, but you can do more. Headphone microphone combo jack. All right, side SD card reader here, full-size SD card. You get a 10 gigabit, so this is also fast, not Thunderbolt, but you're going to be able to run, again, NVMe enclosures, that kind of stuff. You'll get around 1,000 megabytes a second transfer, very good. Another fast with this USB-A, and another fast USB-A. So no slow ports here. We're looking at all at least decent up to fast ports, and a lot of I/O considering. Microphone, you get your actual kill switch there on your camera as well. So it's looking pretty good. I mean, considering it's an 18-inch, like a big 18-inch laptop, it is fairly thin. Like it is fairly thin for what it is. You could get, a thinner 18-inch laptop like an LG Gram. I think they can get up to 17 or 18 inches or something like that. Obviously, that's not in the same realm. But I mean, and it's not the lightest laptop, but considering it's a desktop replacement, like this is a desktop you can take with you that actually has pretty decent battery life. It's fairly refined. In terms of the design, it is black in here. Last year it had like a soft touch kind of plasticky material, or almost like a rubber, which, I mean, it felt nice, which is one thing, and it also did slightly resist fingerprints. This is like a more of a matte black, so it is going to be a fingerprint magnet. Just be aware of that. If you are like me, you don't like fingerprints, it's kind of annoying. You can buy skins and stuff for it, so just be aware of that. You get the grills up here, standard Legion keyboard, standard Legion numpad. The funny thing is, it's such a large laptop, you get all this bezel around it. Here's the 15.1 inch, which is the most that I've seen, and they can still fit the numpad on it. It's such a clean little thing here. I like this. I love this laptop. This is mine, maybe. I have 2 of them. Well, they're both mine. I own both of them, to be honest, but one is like mine that I use. The other one I'm doing a comparative review. So one of these is mine that I use on a daily. The other one is mine that I bought for reviews. This one was sent from Lenovo. So one of them in this picture is not something that I own. As you can see, insanely reflective. The screen is off though, right? As soon as you turn it on, you get some light coming off of it. That will help, but it is going to be a mirror. That's one thing you got to deal with there. Okay, so here's a look inside of the laptop. It's quite large, fills up the whole camera there. That's good. It's quite impressive inside, as you would expect from such a large laptop, 18 inches. Lenovo is positioning this obviously as a big gaming laptop, but also as a true desktop replacement. I mean, it's 18 inches, so it's going to be fairly heavy, but you can move around with it. So if you need the power of a desktop, like a powerful desktop computer, but you need to be able to move around with it, this is the type of segment that you're in here. So we have in here, nice big battery, 99.9 watt hour. That's the legal max you can have in a laptop. So that's as big as it's going to get, and it will supply reasonable battery life with the components inside. Nice big speakers here. These should sound pretty good. They're basically borrowed from the I think the Yoga 9i Pro, most likely. They should sound pretty good overall. Then, of course, we do have tons of cooling in here. We have 2 big, nice, thick fans with the curved style. That reduces air turbulence and noise, so there's no like whirring, like woo, 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 woo. There's no hissing, like a tss type noise. It's just air movement. That's very good. We get 2 more auxiliary fans that just blow over because there's a lot of stuff going in here. So these will just kind of blow over components, move air throughout this system in general. Very good. And then, of course, we do get a massive vapor chamber here. Nice thick vapor chamber. That's going to be obviously quite good. You don't want to take this off necessarily because of what's under there, liquid metal. I would just leave it on there. If you need to get it serviced, take it to a Lenovo service representative. But tons of cooling in here. And considering you can get this thing up to a 275HX, which is actually a good chip. It can run hot in theory, but it is good. It's a very good chip, actually. But it is capable of boosting up a lot and getting hot. And then, of course, this is a 5080, which you can get all the way up to a 5090. You can have a lot of heat in here, and they're high wattage variants. So that's good. Upgradability is also fantastic on this laptop. So RAM here, of course, you do have a little slot here, and you can get 4 SODIMM sticks in here. So you're going to be able to put in 4 memory modules, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see they're kind of stacked on top of each other, so you can get a ton of memory in this thing. Again, pointing towards the fact that it's a workstation PC, or high level gaming PC. That's one of the changes from the 9i from last year. The 9i was just another 16-inch, slightly more premium. This is a whole new segment, so I approve of this. You do have upgradable Wi-Fi under there. You get a ton of storage options too. So this is the Gen 5 NVMe that comes with it underneath a heatsink there. Very good. Here you pop out some screws. Already did that. And you get 3 more NVMe slots. 1, 2, 3. Very good. And heatsink on there as well with pads. So this is a desktop computer, right? You get yourself a desktop computer. You get like 4 NVMe's, lots of RAM slots, lots of cooling and all that kind of stuff. And that's the same as this, right? This is a mobile desktop computer with 4 NVMe slots, 4 RAM slots, tons of cooling as well. It looks great. Okay, so here is a look at the screen, and this screen is obviously massive. We'll zoom out a little bit so you can see it's a gigantic screen, obviously. Huge screen. It's going to be the type of thing that's actually sitting quite far back from me, and despite the fact that it's sitting quite far back from me, I can see everything perfectly clear. So, this 18-inch screen at this range would be similar to, a 16-inch much closer, or like a 14-inch sitting on my lap in terms of my vision, how much of my vision is taken up. So that's great. The specs are good. We'll go in here, 240 hertz, show you 240 hertz refresh rate screen. There we go. And 75 is the low, so you don't go all the way down to 60. But 75 is actually better. Yeah, it's kind of a sweet spot between not feeling like a slog when you move stuff around and actually getting pretty good battery life. So that's good. And then of course this one is a 4K. So they don't send these out with the 5060 or something that would be brutal at 4K. 5080, you can of course get a 5090 as well. 5080 can handle 4K decently well, especially with low scaling. The 5090 mobile is going to be much more capable of 4K, and I'd be more comfortable there personally, but they're both good, to be honest. That's good. 100% DCI-P3 color space is going to be fantastic as well. Okay, so one of the negatives of this thing is, as you can see there, is the reflectivity, right? That there. So it is very reflective when you're on a full black, especially in a light room. Once you turn all the lights off and you're in a dark room, you can't really see yourself. I've been using that 15-inch one as a daily driver for a few weeks now. Just kind of mess with it, and it's not that bad. If you're in a very bright room, yes, it is very reflective, especially on consistent black areas. But in a dark room, it kind of goes away. You'll see in this example here some of the positives and negatives. So again, you can see it's very reflective. But when you start to get into color, for example, so here's the black scene, and then when you get into color, you can't see. You can't really see me anymore. Can you see me? Maybe a little bit in there, like just the tiniest little bit. It really does kind of go away. 100% DCI-P3 color space means nice, bold, vivid reds, kind of like a royal red, I call it, right? Very saturated colors. The reflectivity of the screen makes it more vibrant, whether it's an IPS or OLED, doesn't matter. The 100% DCI-P3 of the screen also makes it more saturated. The colors are going to be much further into the red. That's fantastic. Right, so here's an example of not as much black. There are little bits in here, but you can see now you can't really see me reflecting. It's nice, very vibrant, bright, very bright screen, to be honest. It's bright, it's a large, massive screen. And then of course you get the 100% DCI-P3 that they put on it. You get the little bit of gloss, which adds a little bit more vibrancy as well. High refresh. So it is a beautiful screen. So if you're using this thing a lot for like content consumption, meaning movies and shows and games, that kind of stuff, you're not really going to get the negatives, because there's things are going to be constantly moving on the screen. There's no typically not like a giant black canvas there, but when you get into stuff like this, that's where you're going to get the negatives of the black screen being reflective. Okay, so now we'll test the audio here and see how that sounds. Turn it up here, and we'll turn it down here. I do expect them to be pretty good, to be honest, so just watch your headphones. This might get pretty loud. Yeah, it's very loud. I'm gonna turn it down. Let's test the volume first. So I'm gonna turn it up for a second. Yeah, they're really good speakers. I use a Yoga 9i Pro right now as I'm kind of messing between the Legion and the Yoga. The Yoga 9i Pro has, outstanding. You're approaching MacBook level speakers, not quite as good as like a MacBook Pro, but getting there. And this is the same idea. Like this is pretty close to a MacBook Pro 16-inch, like very close. So yeah, there's a ton of bass down there, and it's not like sometimes the Macs can actually be slightly over exaggerated in the bass. And if you've used them, you may know what I'm talking about. If you've used like lots of different machines, sometimes the low end bass on a Mac can be a little heavy actually. There's a lot of low end bass here, but it's actually not too heavy. It sounds a little bit more balanced. Mid range nice and clear, and the high end as well very nice. No tinniness. It's fantastic. These are actually legitimately a hard 10 out of 10 S plus tier speakers. They are actually fantastic. We don't need to do too much with the keyboard. I mean, these things, we do them, they're the same. You do have the RGB, which we'll bring up in the background. The keyboard is your standard Legion keyboard. A few years ago, these were slightly higher larger keycaps with more Z height. They slimmed down the physical keycaps a little bit smaller, but they still have tons of travel. That allows the physical laptop chassis here it's thinner than you'd think for an 18-inch like big piece laptop. It is thinner than you think. Physically, it's a large laptop, but that's been slimmed down. And so as a result, they put slimmer keys on there, but still a ton of travel, right? So that's good. We do have access to lighting. And as you can see here, sure. Right, it's per key. If we can get it to add, there we go. So you can go like that, and it's per key, right? It's not zonal, like my Legion 5, which I showed earlier on camera, is zonal. So you have stripes. Not like 1, 2, 3, 4 zones. It's like many zones because they're stripe type things. Here it's literally per key. So you can set it up however you want. As you can see, it looks kind of dumb. But you can do that. And all these different modes in here. And you can go in here and you can go function, spacebar, rip. And there's presets, 6 of them. It comes with some baked in. Like some falling stuff, whatever. Just put it back to the rainbow, whatever. It's your choice. Pick whatever you want. But there's lots of options there. And then the actual typing experience is quite nice. I'm used to it because I've been using the other Legion, but it's basically the same keyboard. The difference here is that this chassis is very firm. There's no keyboard, there's zero keyboard flex here. This thing is like pushing on a piece of steel, right? There's zero keyboard flex here. This is hard metal, no flex at all, which is nice because then when you're typing, it just feels way more kind of responsive and just bouncy. It's nice. Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 keyboard. Like, what do you want from me? It's just very nice to type on. The only thing I don't like is that the keyboard is it's black, so you're gonna get fingerprints. It's kind of annoying. I don't like that at all. But otherwise, it's fine. Those RGBs then, they do extend to other areas here, and you can customize them as needed. That's where you get into the high level pro stuff, where you get all this RGB. My little 5 down there doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. You also get a huge trackpad. It actually doesn't look that big considering how big the laptop is, but it's a big ass trackpad. It's the size of my hands, and I'm almost 6'1", right? And I'm lanky too, so my hands aren't small. That's a big ass trackpad. But anyway, so it's going to be nice and responsive, not glass or anything, but it feels smooth and it's clicky. I wish I had my Legion, but it's rendering right now. My Yoga 9i. My Yoga 9i has a sharper click, a louder click. But I feel like more people would prefer this because it's less annoying, I guess, in public places. I prefer it's just me, but this is still very nice. Yeah, it's very nice. I'd like to see a haptic trackpad, honestly. With this budget, this kind of price range where we're getting into some serious dough. Lenovo has very good haptic trackpads. I use one all the time. I think that they could put it in here and it would be fantastic. At this price range here, I would like to actually see a haptic. I feel like most people don't care at this. That's more something you'd find on the prosumer lineup. But I'm not going to say no to a haptic trackpad if you want to throw it in there. Okay, so now we will do some Cinebench. And not for scores, we'll do the scores after in the benchmark section. But I want to see how well it kind of scales at different wattages and the noise specifically. So we'll come in here, we're on performance mode, plugged in, check the watts here, check the hots here, and see how it runs. Okay, let it go for a second. There's no throttling or anything. That's a lot of watts. 186, 185. Again, massive 2-fan cooling system on the vapor chamber, 2 auxiliary fans, and a big vapor chamber. So this thing is reaching desktop. That's fast. Wow. I recently tested, I just published my Legion desktop review, which has a 275HX. It's the mobile chip in a desktop, and it was doing the same. So this thing is matching the mobile desktop, which had a 240mm AIO liquid cooler. I just published that this morning. So yeah, this is matching that desk. It's like 1,000 behind. So it's giving you, and by the way, this was also then matching the Intel 285K desktop, right? It's fast, very fast. This is upper level S tier ultra omega, like Cinebench level performance that you would get on a desktop. Consumer level, like there is nothing really much faster. 9950X, it's gonna be around the same. 285K, it's gonna be around the same. And I know that because I have a 9950X right here. Well, this is the box for it. It's in my machine. I've been using it on and off for months and months and months. I also have I have a 265K, but I've also tested the 285K in the Legion, and this is like upper level. Now we're getting a little bit of throttling, but not bad. Honestly, it's not even that noisy considering. I guess that there is a lot of volume, but it's not annoying. We'll put it that way, because it's not making any weird noises. So, I mean, it is true desktop level. Like, this is getting into, I'm going to build the best machine I can with the best desktop parts. What kind of performance am I going to get? Well, it's this. Okay, so we're in balanced here. It's already getting quieter. The thermals are coming down a ton, and so are the wattages, obviously. I mean, 85 is going to be very respectable, just so you know, on this here. It's still going to give us a very good performance. I've already tested them all. I already know how they do, but I'm just looking at the noise. It is still producing noise, but this wouldn't bother me now. Around 50 dB is like, I'm fine with that. On like doing heavy stuff, right? I don't want to be idling at that noise, but if it's just hanging out, I'm fine with it. Silent is more like, you know, if this thing was actually sitting on my lap and I was like not at a desk and I wasn't rendering or something, this is probably how I would put it. And the watts are still going to be respectable. You can see we're still at 55 watts. It is much quieter now. See how quickly it's dropping down? Now we're getting into like Ultrabook laptop, just kind of vibing out. My noise floor is about 35. It's very quiet now. Okay, so looking at some of the benchmarks now, we have the Cinebench score. Here is a full silent run without all the crap on the side. 25,000. It's just so good. This is higher on silent mode than my also brand new laptop on performance mode, which is just very telling of how effective these Aero Lake HX chips are at lower watts, and it's basically running almost near silence. And then moving up to balance mode, obviously a huge jump here. We're up to over 30,000 here, even on balance mode, and it is still fairly quiet. Then just letting it go full bore, it doesn't actually make a big difference here in the system. So you're going to be at about 30,000 whether unbalanced or performance. So pick whichever one you want. I'd go with balanced, and then of course silent is going to be, for most of the time, it's going to be more than enough. Then just looking at some battery life statistics here, this is where normally in the past a gaming laptop from Intel would be horrible. Like, it would actually be terrible. Here our battery is actually not quite as good as a smaller system. We're burning around 18 watts with high refresh, all the fixins going. You just have to consider here that we do have a lot of components inside, SSDs, extra fans, all this kind of stuff, and all these take up watts. So you're not going to get the same battery life as like a Legion 5 or something like that, but it's still respectable for a giant behemoth workstation. In the past, say you got like a Dragon Range CPU or something like that from AMD, it would be idling at, the CPU would be idling at 25 to 30 watts, let alone the whole system. So this is not bad. You're still going to get, 5 hours, 6 hours out of the system, just hanging out, doing some basic Windows tasks. And then putting on YouTube, you can see it doesn't jump as much as you might think. It just goes up a little bit, 25-ish watts. So that kind of makes sense because the system has a lot going on inside of it. You're still going to get probably 4 or 5 hours here just hanging out. Again, if you're looking for the max battery, this is probably not the system for you because it has 4 fans inside, 4 SSD slots, 4 RAM slots, yada yada yada, and all these things do take up wattages. You would want to go with like a smaller Legion that's going to have less stuff going on inside. However, I will reiterate, for a giant gaming desktop replacement, this is pretty good, to be honest. And then the last thing here is just the Wi-Fi, and my upload speed doesn't matter, it's just crap. But you can see here it's just getting pretty close to maxing out my Wi-Fi. I have gigabit Wi-Fi, gigabit Ethernet, and this Wi-Fi is getting close to actually maxing that out, so that's very good. Okay, so here we are in the game. Burrow, shut up. Cyberpunk 2077 is the game. I don't know what settings we're at, but they're too high, clearly. For silent mode, go into performance mode there and test it out. Now, remember, this is a 4K screen, not a 1600p screen like the other Legions, so there's a big difference in the number of pixels that this GPU has to drive, 4K versus 1600p. But there's a few things you can do here. You can use scaling. You can turn on the settings, whatever. You can get the 5090 if you're a baller. So here's full screen, 4K. We are on high, ray tracing ultra. I guess that was what it decided to give us here. Let's go not ray tracing to start here. Let's go native. See what they can get here. Now the reason I'm starting with Cyberpunk is because it is hard on the CPU. Yes, we're at 4K, which is going to offload some of that away from the CPU. But that's how the laptop is. So it is still CPU heavy. So this is 4K ultra, no scaling. And I mean, that's a pretty good baseline before we touch anything. Let's see what we have here. So the CPU is running at 60 watts. Again, it is a very efficient, the 275HX. It can tear in things like Cinebench, video rendering, code compile when it needs to, but in gaming, it doesn't need to do that, right? Especially at 4K. GPU here, 100%. Obviously, we're at 175 watts, so it is giving you truly the full wattage of the 5080 in here. Fantastic. 12 gigabytes of VRAM is nice. It's a little bit of overhead for once. We actually have some room there, so we're not going to get micro stutter based on VRAM, so it's nice to have 16 gigabytes. You could get by with 12 at this level of performance, but 16 is nice. And we're getting a nice 45 here. I mean, that's not bad for a starting point here, and it's running cool, right? GPU is running at 71 degrees. It's nothing. So here we are on the Legion 9A Pro. We're in performance mode in Cyberpunk. Just kind of hanging out. Surface temperatures are quite good. 34. My skin temperature is about the same. Right? So that feels like hand temperature. In here, you can see there's like a little bit of a warm spot, but it's still not hot, and it's actually under the keys. The keys themselves are not hot, 40. Over where your hand would be, cool. Hand temperature. Hotness on the screen, there's a little bit of air going up there, but it's not bad. Right? It's not like 50, 60 degrees. That's nothing. It's looking good. Let's look at the bottom. So this is, again, Cyberpunk, which is... This is Cyberpunk, which is CPU and GPU heavy. Very, very demanding, and you can see there's just nothing down here where if it's sitting on your legs. And this is performance mode, so maxed out, and there's just nothing going on here. It's cool. I mean, it's cooler than my skin. So, looking great. Of course, it is pumping air out the back of it, obviously. But, yeah, looking quite good, honestly. Now, let's just throw on a little bit of scaling. I'm not going to turn down the settings. There's no need to do that. But we can come in here and throw on a little bit of scaling. Again, at 4K, that's a lot of pixel data to go in, so you could easily get by with performance. And it will look, especially with transform model, it will look no different. Trust me. I've done lots of tests. Digital Foundry has done it. I can't remember who else. Maybe Hardware Unboxed, but I mean, right, you can play with a lot of scaling here. Do what makes you feel good about it. Still not enough though, right, with 4K. So balance, so we'll go up to performance here, transform model. Transform model is hard to run. It's a harder to run model than the classic, but it looks better. So you can and should use more of it than the traditional, because the traditional, it's less intense to run, but it looks worse. Whereas Transformer, like even if you're pixel hunting, you're going to struggle to find problems here. 18-inch screen is pretty big right in front of you, and if you are pixel hunting, you might be concerned, but you're not going to find pixel wonkiness here. Like even way off there, like we have tiny little details right there. Right, we're on performance scaling here, and there's no pixel wobble. There's nothing funky going on here. It looks really quite nice. Because we're at 4K, right? Like we have 4K here as a base, and we're upscaling. Even with performance, we have a lot of data going here, and it's an easy 60, right? 4K Ultra, just let her go. No problems. So a lot of the time, this is how you're going to be doing things on the screen, because again, it is 4K. The downside of the 4K screen is it is much harder to run and to drive, but the upside of the 4K screen is that you have DLSS, and you can use lots of DLSS, and it will still look good at 4K, right? So we'll go through the modes here. Balance mode should run just fine. There will be a drop in, the wattages. You see the GPU dropped down a ton there. The CPU dropped a little bit. We're still getting reasonable performance here. This is going to be more for lighter games, I would say, or if you decrease the resolution to 1080p or something like that. But you can play with this kind of stuff there. The AI, it takes a moment for the AI. I don't know if it's technically AI, but the algorithm to figure out where the watts need to go when you throw it in different performance mode. But Lenovo Legion power modes are very good. That's the one thing I miss whenever I go away from a Legion and I go to like a Yoga or something, which has good power, but the wattage handling in these Lenovo Legions is just really good, right? We're getting like 50 on balance. Silent is going to be a little rough at 4K. Give it a sec to get some watts into the GPU, but right, it's doing okay. 35. You could lower the settings, get by. Like you could come in here and be like, okay, we're going to be on silent, so let's come in here and we'll go with like that or something, right? I wouldn't do that because it is quieter, but it's not like silent, right? So if you really want to play quieter, you could go like that. It's fine. A game like this is pretty hard to run on that kind of wattages. But what we'll do here is we'll come back. We'll go back up to Ultra here. We will put on that scaling. Oops. DLSS. We'll go back up to performance again, like that. We'll go back into these modes here, but I'm going to go into a custom mode here. So we're going to go custom. You can see here I'm in DGPU mode. I have people ask me that sometimes, and then I'm like, I don't know, was I? Can't remember. So we'll come in here. We're going to set up a performance profile that I'm comfortable with. So we're going to give the GPU less watts, much less. Because remember here, we're looking at 4K, so it's going to be less CPU heavy in the first place. CPU long term, it's a little low. 30 would work, but I'm more comfortable with like 35 to 40. GPU to CPU, I don't want that to happen. GPU TCP, we're going to turn that up. So 100, you could turn it up a little bit higher. I might even give it slightly higher, kind of in the middle there. So very low CPU, much higher GPU. We can give it one more where the CPU can give some power to the GPU, that's fine. CPU short term, nope. Temperature limit's fine. That's fine. Okay, so that's good. I like that. Come back into the game, give it a second to figure out what the heck it's doing with all this stuff that I just changed. So again, I gave the GPU some more watts, even more than 100. 1115, which is like kind of a conservative, lightly conservative wattages, but it's still going to be a lot higher than performance-wise than like 75. Like it's getting up there, right? 115, and then I pulled down the CPU watts like a lot. I pulled the CPU watts down a lot, and now it's very quiet. And this is typically what I do on these higher performing GPUs, like the 5080, 5090, back in the day, 4080, 4090. Where I give the GPU a little bit more power, not 175 or something like that, unless I'm playing a super demanding title. I just give it like a good respectable amount, 110, 115, good watts, and then I bring the CPU way down. And even in a game like Cyberpunk here, that is a CPU heavy title, right? We're at 4K, so it's not a big deal, and we're getting basically 60 FPS gameplay here. It is actually quite good. Like you have to admit, that's quite good. It's so much quieter too. Where's my thing? Like, that's pretty quiet, to be honest, for this, like, whatever this custom mode is here. Now, let's throw it back into, like, aggro mode. And again, this thing you can get up to a 5090, which will give you more power, of course, if you care to do so. So we'll come in here, we'll go to performance mode. I just want to try a little ray tracing. Again, it's 4K, so it's a little rough here, but 4K medium. We will need scaling, obviously. So 4K medium RT, I think it'll be okay. Nope, a little rough with the 4K RT. You can also turn down this resolution, right? So now, because it's a 4K screen, you can do native integer scaling down to 1080p. Well, I guess 1200p. You can do native integer scaling like that, right? And then as a result, you can turn down some of the scaling here, and you can use more RT, and it won't look that bad because you're using native integer scaling. So 4K down to 1600p, 1200p, 1440p will look weird, but going down to 1080p or 1200p looks much better because the pixels actually line up. So now, we're getting ray tracing. So you can easily throw it into a 1080p type scenario when you want stuff like ray tracing and all the fixins, right? Or output to an external monitor that's like 1600p, right? So let's go back here, right? Maybe you have an external monitor. You're going to be using this on your lap a lot of time. Maybe you have a 1440p monitor, like over here, external, right? You output to that. And yeah, we're on ray tracing here, right? So if you want to do stuff on the external screen that's not 4K, for example, at 1440p, which is probably the most popular gaming resolution people are shooting for. People have 1080p, but a lot of people are aiming for 1440p. And yeah, that's where you're going to be you throw on RT and you're cooking here, of course. You can also not use ray tracing. So let's just go ultra here. We'll go back with DLSS. We'll throw it, 1440p performance, you could still get by with it, right? So this is 1440p balanced scaling. 1440p ultra performance with performance scaling, and it will still look good. It looks weird because the aspect ratio, but this is how it will look on an external screen, 1440p. And this is where you're getting into high FPS 1440p gaming with respectable settings here, like 120-ish type gameplay. Very good. And here we can throw it now down to balance mode, and it's going to be fine at 1440p. These balance mode settings are going to be much more comfortable at 1440p than at 4K. Right, not bad. 80 to 90, and then of course we do have my custom mode, and it's great. So lots of options here, right? Like you can play on the native 4K screen and fiddle with stuff, get stuff going, and it will be fine. You just need to use more scaling, that kind of stuff. You can lower the resolutions, and exporting, putting it out to an external screen is going to give you the option of then doing stuff like 1440p, but you can also just put it at 1440p, right? Or in this case, this is not the native resolution, aspect ratio, so 1600p won't look weird anymore, right? And this is how the other Legions are, like the Legion 7i Pro, 5i Pro, they're 1600p. Right, and this looks just fine, it looks great, to be honest. And the performance now we're at like 100 FPS on that custom mode, right? We're not in the performance, we're in custom. Or you want to just let her rip, let her rip. Do what you want. So let's do one more game that's not quite as CPU heavy and just kind of see what's up. Okay, so here we are looking at Little Last of Us. I'm not sure what the settings are. So obviously 4K. Need to make sure we don't have any weirdness here. So transformer model, I changed that, so get out of here. We can turn it up. Honestly, again, transformer model, so you can get by with performance. Performance transformer model is probably going to look as good as quality on the old school. So use it. That's DLSS 4 for people who don't know the words. On high. Just need to make sure dynamic resolution scaling is not on because it can be a real asshole here. Okay, it's off. Okay, so 4K. Screen looks great, obviously. Lovely. And performance mode here. Look at that CPU power getting pulled there. CPU and GPU. It's weird because it's not as much of a CPU heavy title, so I find that the CPU actually wattages go up because it's not getting choked or something. I don't know. But 120 FPS 4K with scaling, but again, use the scaling. You can turn it down if you're not into it. Come in here, we'll go display. Turn that, you can turn it off, to be honest. Oops, let's just go off. This is gonna be a little rough, to be honest. 4K native, but it should run. Oh, there you go. There's 4K native. If you want any scaling, right? 4K native experience here. It's running very well, to be honest. It looks really good too. So, you'll be happy playing this game at 4K native at 60 FPS. It's just going to be that type of game. But one thing that I do like to do is I like to play these games quieter because they can be kind of annoying. You want to hear the story, so I do turn it down. That's balanced mode with no scaling. It's not bad. You can turn on scaling, obviously, to get it up. So what we'll do is we'll come in here, we'll go back in. We will turn on a little bit of scaling because I want to be able to turn down these performance modes here. So we're going to go DLSS, transformer, balance. Balance is a reasonable mix. Because again, I'm turning down the mode here. And this is more how I would want to play, because I wouldn't want this thing being loud in a game like this. If it's Doom Eternal, who cares, right? Like everything's exploding, it's loud, it like adds to the ambiance. Whereas if I'm playing Last of Us, like, no, this is like a moody game. It's a moody boy. How can we get by with silent? I mean, it's running pretty well. Man, we actually can. Yeah, so this, as crazy as it sounds, I would play on silent. 4K with scaling. Balance too, and silent mode. It's so quiet. It's a little below 60 though. It's a little low for me. It's getting there though. I wouldn't throw it on medium. I mean, I'm not paying this kind of money for a laptop like this to throw it on medium. That's not how we roll. But I would do custom. My little custom mode, it'll be very, very good here. Look at that. Look at that custom. Yeah, that's where it's at. Custom mode, CPU way down, 30 watts. It's not going to struggle in this game, especially these like heavy GPU games. And let the GPU go. We're at a combined watts of about 150 here. That's nothing for the system to cool. As you can hear, it's like silent. Oh, by the way, that noise is not... That was that. I just realized, I was like, what is that noise? It was not the laptop. It was my KVM. It's almost silent. My movement was 35, remember. This is like having a little Ultrabook laptop on your lap doing nothing. And we're getting 4K high gaming in Last of Us on my little custom mode. So custom mode is often going to be where it's at. If it's on your desk and you want to rip, or you're playing the most demanding titles, yeah, put it into performance mode. Let her go, throw on some headphones, who cares? But if it's sitting on your lap and you're in your living room or something and you're gaming, throw it onto my little custom setup here, 115 watts by 30. Look at that. Look at that performance. Boys and ghouls. Yeah, so I mean, you can do a lot with it. 5090, just add 15 to 20%, whatever. It is what it is. Conclusions. I mean, this is a big laptop. If you're looking for something that's portable and you want a Legion, right? You get yourself the little 15-inch Legion. Like this is a great laptop this year. It's just such a perfect size. 15.1 inches. It's just such a portable little thing. It's awesome. You get yourself a 16-inch right in the middle, but if you need desktop level specs and you need to take them with you, this is what you buy, right? It's an 18-inch screen, so it's massive. It's sitting on your lap, especially. It's going to feel like you're using a massive 32-inch or something in terms of like field of view. That's awesome. You do get an OLED, right? You get all the fixings on the internals in that. It's great. So let's go over the negatives, then we'll do the positives. Negatives. Fingerprints. So black chassis on the inside, we'll get fingerprints. I don't like that. Some people don't seem to care. I do care. I find that black chassis on the inside get fingerprints, and I don't like it. I want them to go back to like a dark gray, like the very dark gray of 2024, or even better, go back to like 2022, 2023, where they were like actually metal gray. Those were the best. It's fine. So if you're working in outdoor environments, you're going to get a lot of gloss on it, a lot of reflectivity. All right, it can be pretty bad. But indoor environments, not so bad, because this is 4K at 18 inches. It's very pixel dense, and I can't notice any fringing on the pixels because it's so pixel dense. I don't see any of that at all. It's really just going to be the glossiness and the fingerprints. Also, it's really expensive, but I mean, it's 2025 going into 2026. Everything's really expensive, and at least this one justifies it. So positives. Screen again, you do get the gloss, which does have the advantage of giving it more richness and vibrancy. 100% DCI-P3 is fantastic. Very high refresh, 240 hertz, fantastic. 4K, fantastic. The 4K is kind of a mixed thing, so I'll put that in here. It can be a little hard to drive on a 5080. It's a little bit more geared towards a 5090, but even higher. But with all the scaling technologies and all that kind of stuff, it's not a problem because you just play with your settings. You'll have to do a little bit more fiddling with settings on this one with, you know, a 5080, 5090 than you would on the 1600p Legion 7i Pro with the same specs, same GPUs, but lower resolution. There's just less fiddling needing to do. So this one here, you might have to play with a little bit more scaling, that kind of stuff, but it's not a big deal. Just throw in some more scaling. It'll look fine. Speakers, since we're on the screen, speakers are actually 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Truly S tier, upper tier, god tier speakers. They're just amazing. Keyboard is quite nice. Gets fingerprints, which I don't like, but otherwise it's a fantastic Legion keyboard. Legion keyboards are like best in class. They're fantastic. Trackpad, yeah, I wish it was haptic glass, but it's fine. It's fantastic. That's good. Other things, I mean, the design is nice. The design language is cute. I like it. It's actually not that heavy. I mean, it's heavy. Like maybe I'm not like strong, like a big beast or anything, but I'm just holding it like it's an 18-inch laptop rather than the 15-inch down there. So that's that. And then, of course, we can get into some of the other positives. You do have access to 4 SODIMM slots in here. That does make the RAM runs a little bit slower because it's just the way it has to bifurcate, but it means you can get in tons of storage, right? And especially with RAM being so expensive right now. We're in RAM apocalypse. I got this laptop when RAM apocalypse wasn't on, and now we're in RAM apocalypse. So suddenly it's like, yeah, rather than grabbing, you know, 2 48 gigabyte sticks and being like, I just paid my life savings for that. It's like, no, you can get like 4 16 gigabyte sticks that you had like lying around maybe and toss it in here and get your RAM game up. So that's nice. 4 NVMe's is also crazy. Like that's desktop level, right? Like the average MATX motherboard doesn't have 4 slots. It has like 3, sometimes even 2. The average ATX, I don't even think the average ATX motherboard has 4, probably 3 on average, but you can get them with 4. So 4 is like upper level ATX motherboard, like desktop motherboard amount of storage. So I mean, yeah, it's a lot of storage. So that's fantastic. That's hinting that this is a desktop replacement. So it's really actually quite nice. It is quite expensive, and you know it's big and all that kind of stuff, but it does what it's supposed to do. It's an 18-inch, reasonably thin laptop for what it is. Tons of cooling performance in there, tons of upgradability in there, desktop level performance. You know, it's not going to beat out, you know, a 5080 desktop or 5090 desktop, but you can't take those with you, right? You could, but you're going to haul around a 50-pound desktop with you with a monitor and all your stuff and your peripherals and take that into a coffee shop. I mean, you could, but it might look kind of ridiculous. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you do it anyways. But this one here, you can just throw in a bag. So if you need a portable desktop, that's very thin, it's awesome. I have reviewed the Alienware 18-inch as well. I'll just give you guys a kind of an outro here with the Alienware. They're not the same. They're a little bit different. The Alienware is thicker than this here. It's thicker than this here, and it does have a little bit more like cooling performance. And there's some other niceties on the Alienware that would outdo this one here, but this one here is more portable and a little bit more upgradability in that too. So they both kind of exist simultaneously. It depends what you're looking for. I do like the fact that the Legion has this like so much internal upgradability, and it is like pretty sleek and relatively stealthy. It's just a nice laptop. So that's the 9i Pro. If you want a big behemoth, this is probably one you could grab.